G'day team, and welcome back to another episode of Veterans. My name's Scott and I'll be taking you through today PTSD and mental health. We're going to have a chat about this really important issue that confronts and the veteran community faces. The reason we're going to do this, people, is to open the discussion. The purpose of this whole series is about removing the stigma of things and talking about it and being a little bit more open about things. By the end of this episode, hopefully, veterans will walk away feeling a little bit more empowered that yes, they can say something and they know that mental health is not something to be ashamed of or basically to hide. Families, friends and that might have an idea of identifiers and where to look or what treatments are available. And we're even going to have a little bit of talk about treatments and different things. So let's get into it and have a chat about PTSD and mental health. So the first thing we're going to look at, team, is actually the dictionary's definition of PTSD. So what is PTSD or post-traumatic disorder? The dictionary's definition is post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, is a psychiatric disorder that may occur in people who have experienced or witnessed a traumatic event, such as a natural disaster, a serious accident, a terrorist act, war, combat, or rape, or have been threatened with death, sexual violence, or serious injury. So that's the definition. Do you know, a lot of people, the stigma of mental health and PTSD really inhibits the discussion and open discussion. A lot of the time you'll find veterans and people are a bit scared to admit it because of the stigma and they feel weak. So we want to look at this and we want to understand, what PTSD is. I suppose a lot of people go, oh, what is it? What? And the best way I suppose I can explain it is about stress levels. So it's a stress disorder. It's a brain injury. And that's the best way I ever had it explained to me, is that your brain just works differently to normal. So you may have a stress level about here normally, and then all of a sudden, you get cut off at the lights and your stress level goes up to here. And then it comes down. And something else happens, goes up here and comes down. But over time, it just stays around that. And then when confronted with something, that raises your stress level and your adrenaline levels to such a height that your brain actually doesn't know what to do. And I sort of talk about the frontal cortex is the bit that is logical thought, and then you've got your amygdala, which is your lizard brain, your fight and survive part of your brain. And literally that's what happens. You get to that heightened arena and heightened stress level and adrenaline level, all of a sudden your frontal cortex drops out. It just packs its bag, and your fight and flight and your survival mechanisms take over. And your brain doesn't know what to do with it, doesn't know how to process it, and so your stress levels stay up fairly high. Now, that being said, look, I've often heard people say, oh, veterans are adrenaline junkies. A lot of the time that is because, being put into such stressful situations, and it might be a combat zone, it might be, cleaning up after a disaster and finding some horrific things. It could be, moving outside of your comfort zone that much that, your stress levels go. Whatever the case may be, the reason veterans seem to be, adrenaline junkies is because they are looking for that rush, you know what I mean? They look for that adrenaline rush, and it's very hard to get. I've actually heard mates of mine say doctors have described their symptoms and the way they've explained things as a drug addict's first hit, and things like that, because it's just so extreme. So, PTSD and the misunderstanding in the community is probably one of our biggest problems, you know what I mean? It's one of the stigma and all that, and that's not helped by government either, by some of the actions it takes. And that's really unfortunate, because what it does do is it makes people feel as if they're not normal in that. One of the best experiences that I ever had was speaking to soldiers from Bosnia that had fought or been in the Bosnian area of operations when I was at the Invictus Games in 2014. I actually felt normal. And a lot of the times, that's what you'll find is veterans talking to each other tend to have similar experiences, or depending on the theatres, the same experience. So let's have a look at a few different things Now, remembering, look, I'm not a doctor, nor am do I claim to be. I'm not a psychiatrist or any other hoo-ha. I'm just a bloke that has dealt with a lot of people that have suffered from mental health problems, and that in the veteran community. And so a few of the indicators, of mental health, and this is more so, I suppose, for the mums, dads, brothers, sisters, sons and daughters out there. Things like depression, anxiety, hypervigilance is a big one. Aggression can sometimes be displayed. Again, bad dreams. There's also other things such as flashbacks and that can happen. So there's just a list of 6 things that are fairly common within mental health and PTSD. Now, when we talk about PTSD and mental health, it's one and the same, I believe. Anyway, mental health covers a wide range of things, and as I've just said, depression and anxiety. I mentioned in an earlier episode about being institutionalised and how soldiers, when they get out, have a hard time. That's called adjustment disorder, because they go from a highly structured environment to a really unstructured, unmotivated, undriven, whatever you want to call it, environment in their mind, and they have a hard time coping. So again, that's part of mental health. Depression's a big one, and right across the board, that can display itself in a number of ways. So what sort of treatments are there out there for this sort of stuff? And look, understanding what it is, and this is where we get to the really important message of this episode, is if you're feeling not right, if you're feeling like you're not firing on all cylinders, don't be afraid, don't feel you're weak, don't feel anything of that. Right? That is not the case. Okay, it literally takes more fortitude to stand up and say, I have a problem, and get it looked at, than it does to just hide and not embrace, or not try and sort of get it sorted. So, if you can acknowledge and address your problems and the feelings, now, that's really important. And again, I cannot stress it enough. Standing up, saying, hey, I need a hand here, is one of the most important things you can do. Now, on the flip side of that, if you're a parent, or you're a spouse, or you're a father, or a son, or whatever the case may be, a daughter, a workmate, and you sense or see one of your fellow men, or your mum or dad, or whoever it is, struggling, don't be afraid to ask the questions. Hey, you okay? Do you need a hand? Now, there's a number of organisations out there that you can reach out to. Open Arms, Defence Care. Like there's there's just 2 that I named then that you're able to engage with. Your GP, tell them. Ask to see, and let's move into those realms of treatment. So you've got your GP, you've got psychologists and psychiatrists. Now, there's other methods out there too people use. Look, we've got medication, and that's often a psychiatrist looks at that. Some people engage in physical training. Other people, do meditation. Like there's so many different ways that these things like depression, anxiety, all of that can be attacked. But you need to be honest, and you need to put your hand up. You're not weak if you do so. Okay. This is about getting you better and firing on all cylinders and feeling good. There's nothing worse than feeling like you're useless and you can't do anything, and all of these horrible feelings, when being proactive, getting out there and having a chat to your GP, having a chat to your doctor, having a chat to your loved ones or your mates, letting them know and getting help, team. Look, one that I've just come across recently and done a fair bit of research on is TRT. Now, I mentioned the government, and I'm not here to bag anyone or anything, but I tell you what, I rang 5 actually, government official officers, senators and Congress, people in the government, and out of that, only one would ring me back, would give me the common courtesy of ringing back and discussing it. DVA had no idea, it was horrific. Now, why I bring that up is because it is being proven, and I'll put a link down below, about the treatment of depression with TRT in young men, testosterone replacement therapy for men, because of low testosterone levels, because of their PTSD or which causes depression on that. The video I put down is a bit of a discussion on that. So it's also about looking outside the box and, again, working with your GPs, working with your health professionals and asking for help. So, team, look, we've really gone through a couple of basic things about PTSD and what it is. Look, we've got a system, and is it perfect? No, it's not. Is, the stigma still there? Yes, it is. Are we getting better at it? Yes, we are. But the take-home message from this is it is not weak, and you're not, weak or anything of that nature. If you are feeling off colour, put your hand up too. Ask for help. Okay, I've been lucky enough, to go to a number of Invictus games and been around a number of veterans that have done exactly that and, have got back on the road to recovery and now doing amazing things. And I could just only urge everyone out there that's a veteran, please, if you're not feeling real good, do something about it. Put your hand up. Talk to someone. So, team, during this episode, we've covered PTSD and mental health. Very quickly and short, but we've had a discussion about it. I'd love you to put your experiences or your views down below. Team, comment, let us know what you think about, PTSD treatments. What's worked for you? What do you think? And share that so in a future episode we can share that with other people. The reason we've covered this is hopefully to start this conversation with veterans, with their families, with friends, and all of that. Again, team, I'd like to big shout out to Stephen Centipento. I've been working with him in the mornings at 7 on Friday mornings prior to these episodes going to air on Capital Radio 2CC in Canberra. And look, make sure you join us next week when actually we have a little bit of a chat about DVA, the Department of Veteran Affairs, and have a look at them. Today, this is Harry, the Shed 2.0. Thanks so much for joining us. Make sure you like this video, share it, please, far and wide. Let's get this discussion out there, team, and make sure you subscribe. All right, team, see you later.